The lounge, right? Hey, we're here with another edition of Coinology.
Loving it.
Coinology, and I'm sitting here today with my guest for today, Okay, I may mispronounce your last name, Dolapo, and pronounce your full name for me.
Dolapo Erinkitola Erinkitola is my full name, but you can just say.
Say it again, Dolapo. Say it again.
Dolapo Erinkitola.
Okay, so let me guess. Nigerian?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Which tribe in Nigeria?
Yoruba tribe.
Yoruba.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so.
Yoruba.
Yes, so.
Okay. So were you born and raised here?
In the Midwest, Chicago. Shout out to Chicago.
Okay, Chi-Town. So no wonder you chose Kanye.
I'm a big Kanye fan.
I'm a huge Kanye fan too. What is it about Kanye that you think that you have the most? What is it that y'all have in common, you and Kanye?
Man, I love Kanye's confidence. Right or wrong, he feels like he belongs, and what he has to say, people should hear it. I love that about him.
I love the fact too that Kanye is walking to his own beat, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody's saying he's crazy, but he's the one winning. He's the number one earning musician is out there.
He's killing the game, and like I said, that confidence level that he has, mm-hmm. That's man, I love that.
I think to be a genius, right? To be what you consider one of the top talented 10, you are going to be misunderstood.
You have to be, because if you're looking through the lens
mm-hmm.
that everyone can see, then you're not going to be a genius. You're going to be the norm.
Yeah.
You're going to be in that bell curve. But if you can look through a lens that, only you can make out what's out there, then okay, you could either be a genius or a crazy person, mm-hmm. but you're in the two flats, right? You're not in the bell curve. You're in the outliers, and that's where he is. So,
I think the other part to know about this is the miseducation of the people, because the reality of it is, if you're going the same as everybody else, you're going the wrong way. One thing I notice is that when I make decisions in business and life or anything, if the masses is going to the left, I'm going to go to the right.
Mm. I mean, I can see that. I mean, not to get too deep, but I think it depends on your season and where you are in your life. Because at the beginning, you're going to want to go with the masses to see what that's about. But once you figure it out, that you can create your own lane, then you start to say, okay, I get what this is, and let me start making. You have to be able to understand where everyone has been or going in order for you to make the right moves.
So let's back up a bit, right? We just came straight in,
mm-hmm.
dropping knowledge, right?
You played some yay, and then you started going in with the questions. You got wine going on.
Right. We in here chilling. So, but let's talk about who you are, because I know people are gonna say, well, who is he? Why should we listen to him, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things I want to state that we're not talking to just Dolapo, we're talking to Dr. Dolapo, mm-hmm. right? You had a number of years as a pharmaceutical executive, right? Mm-hmm. And then you walked away from the pharmaceutical field and began as a restaurateur.
Yep.
Right? 2 or 3 restaurants, lounge. How many do you have today?
3.
3. One is out of town. The other 2 are here in Atlanta, right?
That's right.
So you are the owner of the Blue Lagoon.
Yeah, one of the owners. Shout out to my partners, Tony and Joe.
Okay.
Gotta give them love.
Tony and Joe, love. Mm-hmm. And then you're also the owner of the Havana Lounge.
Yes. Shout out to my partner, Ade, my brother. He owns it with me.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then you also have a
brewery in Chicago.
Amazing.
To Anthony and some other players. Yeah.
Right. And I want to talk about that too as we get further about why it's important for partnerships, mm-hmm. right? And then you decided to merge over into the space of film. Right, yeah. Entertainment. Mm-hmm. So right now, you have about a good 10 films under your belt as an executive producer out here. So you basically, so that people can follow me here, you excelled in the pharmaceutical space. You pivoted and excelled in the restaurant space, because if you don't know, the Blue Lagoon is the place to go.
Yeah.
Right?
It is number one night spot in Atlanta.
Right.
For several years.
Number one.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're killing the game over in the entertainment space. For those who don't know, Dee is also the executive producer of one of the top films that was premiered last year, the year before on BET.
Yeah, BET and also Amazon. We had the #1 independent film in the U.S. for about 4 months running. Karen.
So I just end this year's premiere at ABFF. One of your films is being premiered right behind Issa Rae's project, Scheme Queens. You're also the executive producer of that.
Exactly.
Right. So, I mean, I know you have to be super busy running multiple restaurants and lounges, and also overseeing a lot of these projects, because a lot of people don't understand what executive producers do. So I think what I want to talk about is the DNA behind the success, because you're talking about 3 industries that have nothing to do with each other, and you're also talking about 3 industries that most people, well, I'm going to say 2 industries that most people fail at, because I think most people, once they graduate from medical school or get their PhD, it is what it is, right? So failure. But I think in the restaurant industry, most people fail. In the entertainment industry, most people fail, right? So let's talk about why those 3 industries first.
Why those 3 industries? Okay, so my background, actually, there's a 4th industry, because I started off in computer science.
Oh, wow.
And, there was a bubble, and I was working for a company, and basically I got laid off, and so I said, you know what, I'm going to go back to school, I'm going to reinvent myself, and that's when I went to school to be a healthcare professional. And so that change just allowed me to say, I said, I don't want to do computers anymore. I want to do something else. And I just enjoyed healthcare because of, how you can impact people. I have a servant attitude or position. So it was a natural progression, and I worked for several different companies and did well in it. And so I guess the biggest change for me is when I moved from Atlanta to Charlotte. I did, I took a contract in Charlotte, and I just kind of missed Atlanta, and I was coming back and forth every chance I got, and I just said, you know what, let me just move back to Atlanta, and just walked away, making a lot of money, executive position.
You walked away from a lot of money because you missed Atlanta.
Because it was just, I wasn't happy. I was making a lot of money, everything was there, but I just wasn't happy.
So one of the things I've heard a lot of with some of the folks that we've interviewed is that a majority of everybody walked away at the pinnacle of their bag, right? Without being concerned about being able to recreate it.
Yeah, no, and that it goes back to like that whole Kanye thing. I'm very confident that if you know the model, it doesn't matter what room they put you in.
That's
You'll
right.
be able to execute it. So when I walked away, obviously I was a little nervous, but I said to myself, I'll be all right, and I just walked away.
Another thing, and if my viewers are paying attention, you're going to notice that the guests are saying the same thing, and none of them have been in the same rooms. It's just that their success leaves clues, right? And one of the things that we continuously hear is that there is a model, there is a science to success. Most people believe that success is sun, moon, and stars. I look up in the sky and I hope and wish, but there is a science to it. And once you know the science, you can be successful at whatever you do. And D is an example of that because he was successful in the computer technology field. He was successful in pharmaceuticals. He was successful in the restaurant industry, and now as an executive producer, right? So let's continue. So you walked away from a bag and moved back to Atlanta.
And was like, I did some contracting work, so I was a gun for hire. And in that case, I was traveling around 80 to 90% of the time. And then I started dating this young lady that I knew from way back in college, and she had an issue with me traveling so much, and so there was an opportunity to, do something local and stay local. And so I took that opportunity, and that happened to be the restaurant.
Okay. So you didn't have a desire to get into the restaurant industry?
Actually, I didn't. It just, you got to follow the universe. The universe presented it. It's a funny story. So
Okay.
a buddy of mine, he owned a cigar bar. It's a small cigar bar. And so his partner at the time was traveling. He asked me to come and kind of hang out at the bar, help him out. And he's doing his thing. I'm helping him out. And I look at the numbers, and that place, honestly, it looked empty all the time. So I looked at the numbers, and I said, "Is this right?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "You guys are making this much? It doesn't seem like there's anybody here." He's like, "That's right." I said, "Hey, man, you want to open up a restaurant?" And so
Wow.
that's how it started.
It's funny because shout out to the Bermuda Bar as well. One of my projects that I also am a minority owner in. So, and I know nothing about the restaurant industry, nothing. And I don't really even have a desire to. I'm not a partier. So did you think that you have to be a partier to really do what you do?
No, you don't. But you do have to be a grinder. Like the mistake that a lot of people make, you mentioned earlier that a lot of restaurants fail. And I think a lot of restaurants fail because there is a perception of what a boss is supposed to be. Okay. And that's not what the bosses I know, they don't operate like that.
Okay, so that's a good segue. So you done took me all off my questions. So talk to me about what a boss is perceived and what it really is.
Okay.
Let's talk about that.
So this is a common mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make when they open a business. So you open a business and you have an idea. Let's say you're selling widgets. It really doesn't matter what you're selling, right? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to spend money because you want an office, right? Then you want to decorate that office, right? And then you want to have an assistant, and you want to have all the trappings around that. And you haven't sold one single widget, right?
Yep.
So you're taking all of your money to present yourself a certain way. And that's not what a boss is.
Nope.
When you start, most of the successful people that I know, and I'm sure there's arguments on other sides, but I'm talking about what I know. They started the business in their garage. They said, "I'm not gonna spend that money, trying to do a brick and mortar. I'll start it in my bedroom. I started in my kitchen. I started in my garage. I'll sell it out of my trunk." Those people who have that mindset that, hey, I don't need to show people that I'm making it. They'll know when I make it.
They'll know it. They'll feel it.
They get it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you're right on, because I remember when I started in the industry, myself is in the PR industry. Initially, it was just me, right? And then I ran into Quincy, and Quincy for a long time wanted to partner up and support EPI Media Group, but I didn't have a payroll, right? But he believed in what EPI stood for. So for about a year or two, he supported what I was doing because he truly believed in the mission with no check. At the same time, by the way, I was working in my home office. We didn't move out of, I think we started at EPI Media Group in 2013. We moved into our office space in 2018. So it was 5 years that I worked in my home office. I met with clients at Starbucks. I met with clients at the 12. I met with clients here, there, here, and there. But once my client base had gotten to a point where I knew I was going to the next level, that I couldn't meet with Netflix at Starbucks anymore. I couldn't meet with... So I took...
But you earned the right at that point.
I earned the right at that point. I had enough accounts at that point. It made sense at that point. And I knew next level required me to do that, right? Yeah. As a leader, you learn that to scale, you have to not only make enough, but be able to sustain enough.
Exactly.
and know that it's something that you can continue. And then as time went on, we added more staff and more staff. And I was still working out of that small office, and the staff was all on top of each other, right? But I was like, okay, I'm not going to move into a bigger space until I know I can yet sustain that. So now we're going into our 10th year, and then we moved into this space. So you're right. It was all about being patient, being consistent, and ensuring that you keep your eyes on your numbers, because I don't believe anybody that's successful in business can run a business without knowing their numbers.
Exactly.
Right?
And knowing every position, right?
That's what I tell my staff too. I tell them all the time, everybody that's in here, I've done your job, because before you guys were here, it was just me.
And I've got to share a story. So Blue Lagoon, very successful, very busy. And like I said, shout out to my two partners. But all of us are successful in our own right. And, when we first opened the doors, I was bartending and serving. My other partner, yeah.
So you can make drinks.
I can make every drink. I made the drink mix.
So you could have made the lemon drops for today.
Like I said, I can make some.
Okay.
I can make some drinks. You want to cut? You want to go to break and let's see?
Yeah, we should have had some.
Hey,
we should.
I'm playing.
Okay.
But for real, so I was the bartender. I was the server. My other partner was the cook, and then my other partner was the floater. And we did that for several years. We didn't pay ourselves. And once the business took off, it really took off. Then we started to hire people. We paid them first before we paid ourselves. And once it got to a point where, we were bursting at the seams, then we hired in a new staff. And so I say that to say, for a business, a restaurateur, you have to be able to cook everything on the menu, serve every drink. If the refrigerator goes out, I'm in the back of the refrigerator trying to figure it out. It's not about having a new refrigerator. That doesn't make sense. It's about fixing.
Say that again.
It's not in the budget.
It's not in the budget.
Stay within your budget in order to survive, because you don't know what's around the corner.
You don't. As an entrepreneur, you always got to work with a reserve in mind. So, okay, let's go back. You said there are some misconceptions of being a boss, right?
Yep.
So you said the first is the perception of being bigger than life, right?
Yep.
What's number two?
Well, it goes to what I just talked about. Typically, the boss sits in a chair in his office, and the boss is directed. But a real boss is going to know every position and know how to do all of those positions, and they're going to coach to bench strength, right? So if I have to leave or if I have to go out and do sales, the business will still succeed because I taught this person how to handle the bar, or this person how to handle this business. So the misconception is you want to hoard the information and keep it, but that's not what that is. A real boss is making sure everyone in the room is now getting to be smarter than you. I don't have a fear that I'm going to give away the secret recipe to an employee. If the employee knows how to run the business, it gives me more freedom. But you can't, it's not just having the information that's going to make you successful. Obviously there's a lot of people that's smarter than me that work for me. And if it's all about being smart, then I'd be out of a job. It's about having the desire and being that conductor. And the grit. And the grit.
Right. Great relationships too.
Yeah. So, putting that together as a boss, you have to be able to create your bench strength, know exactly what each position does, know how to do it, and then look at your numbers to make sure that when it's the right time to kind of scale, like you said, scale or go to the next level, you're able to do that without compromising the business.
And that's important. Most people don't keep that. They come in the game. So what we're talking about, most people come into the game wanting to look successful and not really being successful. Most people come in the game and don't know the numbers. They're just out here. They made 1,000. They spent 2,000 because again, they want to look more successful than what they are. And then, lastly, they don't really know the business, right? So, how many people have you actually came in contact with who just want to look successful but really don't know what they're being successful in? And I agree with you. I think a good leader mentors. A good leader builds their team, so their team is excited about coming to work. One of the things that I pride ourselves on here is that everybody loves what they do. And I'm not saying they necessarily love me, They love what they do. We want to make the environment as enjoyable as possible. And that's how you get the best out of your people, right?
I agree.
Right?
You have to send them out better than they came in.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's teaching them about, life outside of, let's say, your agency or outside of your restaurant, you've got to pour into them, and then they know you care.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the dollars, because if it's about that, everybody's going to go. Whoever's paying me more, I'm going to go. But what about being family friendly? What about understanding what motivates somebody? And those things are really important. And if you start feeding into your staff, they'll move mountains for you.
Move mountains. I can say that about my boy Fonz. Fonz moves mountains for me. And I think the other thing about things too is that when you get to know your staff, understanding what their end goals are. If you can help your staff achieve their end goals, and they know that y'all are partnering and you're trying to get there at the end together, that's when you have a partnership versus a dictatorship.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's where a lot of people struggle as, because they think a boss means do this, do da 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 da. And I believe that we are a team, we are a family, and we operate like that.
Now, I will say, I tell them, this is not a democracy. I do tell them.
Okay.
I do tell
They know. They know when I say it's done, it's done. Right? Right, Fonz? It's done?
Do it this way. They can't have too many chiefs. But to your point, you have to explain the whys and tell them why you're doing something. If you really value them, you just can't blindly say, do this. You got to explain, hey, we're doing this because. Because.
And you may not agree with me, but trust that my experience has led me to move this way. And I do the same thing with my clients as well, because I'm very vocal. I think you probably know that too, because as a client. So I will tell you, I agree or I don't agree. But at the end of the day, it's up to the client to make the final decision. And however the client wants to move, that's how we're going to move, right? But I am going to say, D, I don't think that's a good idea. Right? Because I feel like that's what my clients are paying me for. They're paying me for my expertise. And so I think that's important. But let's talk a little bit about the executive producer.
Okay. And I haven't heard that yet, by the way. D, that's a bad idea.
Oh, you haven't?
I haven't heard that yet.
I thought we talked about that in that session that day. A couple of those projects, I said, D, I don't know about that.
Really?
When you must not have heard me when you pitched a couple of those projects and we were talking about, and I said, D, I don't know about that.
Okay, yeah, it's not.
It was two, but to be exact.
But guess what? They're sold.
They're sold. You know what? But this is the thing. I'm not always right. I think also the other thing is it may not be a good idea for me, right? Every project isn't for everybody. Everybody can't, but it doesn't mean. Think about this. Starbucks got 1,000 no's before they got a yes.
Yeah.
So for those 1,000 people, it wasn't for them.
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
So you just have to find out what the, what that flavor is for that person. And, I truly believe if there's an audience for everyone. And that's what for everything you have, there's an audience.
There's an audience. But now, this is the thing, though, as an executive producer, because I, too, am an executive producer. There's an audience for everything, but what I will have my name attached to has to be certain things because it represents you as a brand. You know how you have some executive producers out here that are known for creating messy reality, degradation towards African American people. That I don't ever want to be known for that, right? To me, I always want to create content that matters.
Yeah, right? and so we're assuming that, right? We're assuming that you've taken that approach before creating the content.
That's right. Yeah. We're assuming, right? So my question to you is, in the field of executive producer, how do you know when there's a project that you want to sign your name to?
I look at it like real estate. Whenever I buy a property, I don't care where it is, I ask myself one question, and that is, can I live in this particular property? If the answer is yes, then I have an opportunity to buy it. If the answer is no, I don't care how good it is, I walk away. I ask myself the same thing for commercial properties. If I look at it, can I open up a business here? Will I feel comfortable? If the answer is yes, then I move forward. Fast forward to movie production. I ask myself the same question: Will I sit down and watch this? Is this something that I will sit down and really consume? If the answer is yes, and I don't care, because we have a gamut of what we'll watch, right? We'll flip the channels, something will stop, and you'll stop on something, and you'll watch it. So if I feel like I'm clicking with that remote and finally I land on something, if it's got my interest and I say to myself, I will sit down and watch this, then I'm in.
See, and I think this is where, and I used to have a problem when, back in corporate, when people would say masculine versus feminine. I used to always kind of lean towards more of a more masculine approach. I've always, because that's how I handle business. But this is where the feminine side of me probably jumps in relation to business in comparison to you, because I'm a mother, right, of 2 kids. And so I've had some really great opportunities presented to me, but the show content was not something that I would feel comfortable with my daughter turning on or my son turning on, and knowing that their mother was a part of that, right? And it was very sellable because it's something that it's very popular now, people are looking for, but I could not co-sign that, right? And it probably, and so at that moment I questioned, I'm like, okay, Ebony, you're being too emotional instead of thinking business, because I know that you can't have emotion at the negotiation table, right?
You really can't.
You can't, right?
But I think we're saying the same thing, because I didn't ask myself if I can sell it. I didn't ask myself that. I asked myself if I could watch it. And if I could watch it, the assumption is I could watch it with a conscience of, all of those things. Am I killing my community? Am I, can my kids see it? In their proper time, right? As kids grow, right? G, PG, R, whatever. So I asked myself, can I consume it before I can sell it? If I can consume it, I automatically know I can sell it.
But let's talk about emotions at the negotiation table. So, as you know, I'm known in the industry as a certified deal closer. Right?
Yes.
98% of the deals across my desk, I close. Period. Right? But what I tell people, that comes from the confidence that I have in myself and my ability, but it also comes from educating myself. I never go to the table uneducated on the person that I'm sitting across from. So even from when you came into my office, I knew all about you. I knew who you were. I knew all the details. I knew about Kappa Alpha Psi. I knew about 100 black men.
Shout out to Kappa.
Okay, Kappa, yo, yo, yo. And a shout out to all the sorors, AKAs in the house, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. But I also knew about the Havana Lounge. So you have to know the person that you're sitting across the table from. The least amount that you know about that person and the least amount of confidence that you have, you're basically coming to the table ready to lose.
That's Sun Tzu. You ever read The Art of War? That's really what that is. So The Art of War, one of my favorite books, and that's how it used to be required reading in corporate America. But the opening passage, it reads, and I'm going to chop it up, but you're gonna get the takeaway. If you don't know yourself and you don't know your opponent,
opposition,
you're going to lose every battle. If you know yourself, but you don't know your opponent, for every battle won, there'll be a battle lost. But if you know yourself and you know the opponent, you'll win every single time. Every single time.
And this is what people don't realize. To win a deal, what you have to also know is, what is it that your opponent needs? Not about what you want to give. But if you understand what Dolapo needs are, then when you're structuring your deal will be structured in a format where it's I can't say no because I need that to be successful, right? But you have to understand the needs components, and that's what people want to just show up at the table. They don't want to do the research. And the research is what provides you the confidence to be able to sit across the table from anybody.
Absolutely.
Because when I say 98%, I'm not saying 98% with black women. I'm not saying 98% with black men. I'm saying 98% with
Overall.
white, Asian, Hispanic. It does not matter. You have to understand who you're talking to and what their needs are and how you can be of value. And that's the problem I think a lot of the young entrepreneurs miss. What value are you bringing to the table, right?
So now don't let me start talking about this because I'm probably going to get some boos or some unlikes. But this newer generation, what I'm finding out is that there is a sense of entitlement. And the way they look at the world is different from the way I look at the world. And I'm going to be honest, there's no wrong answer. Their way is right, my way is right for me. But when we try to marry our approaches, that's when we bump heads. Because I'm from, let me put my backpack on, let me put on my work boots, and let me go get it done. That's just, if you're not out there working, you're not going to win. Now, the younger generation, they're winning, but they're winning with a different approach.
But they're winning perception.
Well, some of them, the approach is, the world owes me. You owe me this. And they can take that and they can monetize it in a way I can't because I don't think like that.
Right.
So I'm not mad at them, and it's not wrong. It's just different. I don't owe them anything. So when they come to me with that, I'm like, bro, we can't do business.
Can't do business.
Because that's just not how I operate. You can sell that to somebody else. I'm sure they're buying it. But if you're going to come work with me, you're going to be on time. You're going to know the product. You're going to know this. You're going to know that. And I don't owe you anything.
Nothing. And I also believe that, and just so you know, I totally agree with that. I mean, I am like that with my own child. My son, I brought him in to work in my agency, and it was really you starting from the ground up. And I'm probably harder on him than I am with everybody else in the agency. Like, what are you doing? I never want him to have this entitlement that it was handed to him or that it was easy, because in the real world it's not easy at all. But I think the other thing I would like to ask a lot of these newfound entrepreneurs too, D, is the sustainability. See, my question is, you have a lot of these quote unquote millionaire Instagram folks or TikTok celebrities. What happens when the TikTok server crashes? What happens when Instagram is no longer a thing? What are you going to do to make money? Can they pivot? Because reality is the businesses that you and I are in can be passed down generation to generation to generation. Can you pass down an Instagram profile to your kid? Can you?
Like I said, I don't operate in their world, but you and I think differently. We think, or I'm assuming we think differently. We think like chess, meaning I think 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. If I make a decision, I'm not making that decision for that day. I'm how is it going to impact me 10 years down the line? In the projects that I own, and I own a portion of every project that I'm a part of, and I own it in perpetuity. When I pass, my kids are going to be eating off of that, right? So I'm thinking down the line. Whereas, my understanding, the younger generation, they're not thinking like that. It's what can I get right now? I can't really sit down and be too worried about the next generation because I think they're going to be okay. It's evolution. But what I do think about is how can I do business with them? How can I make sure that we can coexist and I do business with them? Because pretty soon what's going to happen is how we do business is going to begin to fade.
You think?
Oh, yeah.
I know. This is what I will tell you, is that one of the things that have made me as successful as I am in business is that I focus on the root cause and risk. If you understand the root cause of any issue and you come up with a plan for risk, you're going to be okay. That, to me, those are the two elements that every business owners need to have.
I would agree. But I would say, like, I remember years ago, people were like, you got to jump on social media. I'm like, I'm not going to jump on social media. But now everybody has to. You have to. And that's the evolution I'm talking about, where you understand, because that's their generation. And we had to incorporate it in how we do it. Walmart or brick and mortar, King, you got ate up by Amazon because they didn't move the way Amazon was moving. They didn't move, that's right. So at the end of the day, if you don't start getting those pieces from that younger generation and incorporating it into how you do business, you're going to be left behind, i.e. Blockbuster, right? So that's my fear, to make sure, I keep doing business my way, but I always have to be vigilant to understand
how they think,
and incorporate some of those pieces so I don't get left behind.
And hence the reason why I keep so many millennials on my staff. It keeps me fresh, it keeps me young, it keeps me on my toes, and they keep me thinking about things that I would normally not think about. And one of the things that I was always big on, even when I was in corporate, was that you always need to have a diverse table. Most people think about diversity as the color thing, but to me, diversity is gender, it's background, it's sexuality, it's age, it's even financial demographics, because I've had clients before where their main focus was a demographic that I had no idea how they lived, because that was not my reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And you surround yourself with those people. You're a student and you're a teacher. I mentor with 100 Black Men, and I love mentoring. I love pouring into kids. I don't have a son myself, so, just to pour into a young man to make sure that he's getting it, I love it, Now,
was that an issue for you as a Nigerian man not to have a son?
Are we going to go there?
I just want to know. I just want to know. We got a little bit of time.
Hey, pull this wine away from her.
No, was that an issue for you?
It is. So let me explain the reason why it's important as an African man to have a son.
Okay.
Not only is it because of it carries the name, but you have to understand the origin of the countries in Africa. For the most part, we were in agriculture. We were farmers. And in order to work the farms, you had to have men. Which is why, at the time, we were able to marry multiple women. We still can to this day. It wasn't because of, just having multiple women. It was because the more sons you had, the bigger your farm could be, the more you can work the farm. So you could have multiple wives that would give you sons to work the land.
That's right. Okay.
Right? So there is and through evolution, right? Because, I'm an American, I love being an American, but the difference is, like in the U.S., our culture was devised by a group of men in a room that said, hey, it's going to be this, this, and that. When you look at, let's say, the Yoruba culture, it wasn't devised in a room. It evolved over time.
I also am a huge believer that you never meet anybody by happenstance. I've met people, D, that I may have met back in 1992. And you don't understand why you met them, and then we may have ushered a deal together in 2022, and you finally realize this was why. Or you may have met somebody that you thought was going to be that person, and they really were just the connector to you meeting this person. Like I am a huge believer that whenever I meet someone new, I really sit back, as they're talking to me, I sit back and I really listen to the words that are being poured into me at that moment about that person, because I realized that I didn't just meet D to be a client at EPI Media Group.
Yeah.
What the relationship is going to be, I don't know. But I do believe that every relationship happens for a reason. For instance, I met Jennifer. Jennifer is a colleague that both of us know, right?
Jennifer is my business partner. Shout out to Jennifer.
Jennifer is a beast. I love
amazing.
Jennifer. Jennifer is a beast. I met Jennifer early on in my agency's growth. I used to pitch clients to her. She worked on the Dr. Dollar show. This was back 2014 or so, right? And I met her, and at the time I thought I was just meeting her as a contact for that network for me to pitch my clients to. Wouldn't even have thought that. Fast forward 10 years later, Jennifer and I are working on projects together, we're producing together, and she then introduced me to you. And who knows where that, you never know. I would have never thought this young lady who had this big, beautiful smile in the green room at Dr. Dollar's show would still be in my life today, and that she and I would be ushering in deals together.
And here's the thing about Heart. When I met Jennifer, Jennifer wanted to use one of my venues to shoot a film. That's now she's sold. So
Jennifer's a beast.
Jennifer Pacific.
Did you see her Saturday?
Hey, she's doing her thing.
Yeah.
So that's how we met, and I said, well, you know what? I don't know you, but guess what? Whatever you need, no charge. Jennifer then came and said, you know what? I don't need it now, but I'm good. But she would always call to check in on me. And to me, that was a good heart. You know, I offered my venue free of charge, but it didn't work out. She said no, she didn't need it. She's going to film someplace else. But she checked in, and it just blossomed the way it was supposed to blossom. I love people with good hearts that they're not looking to take. You know? She
doesn't have a user spirit. Jennifer is a server. She's a servant. She's all about, how can I help you? How can I give back to you? But I know I'm getting the hand gesture.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
I'm not going to let you off. You said you were a hip-hop head.
Yes.
Off with some, so I need to hear your top 5. I'm not going to let you off without hearing
my top 5.
And I'm going to give you my top 5.
My top 5 artists?
Yeah, your top 5 hip-hop artists.
Y'all not ready for mine, though. Number 1. Oh, you want to go ahead and go first, or you want me to go?
No, we'll say mine, because I think mine's going to be controversial.
So you want me to go from 1 to 5 or 5 to 1?
Okay, 5 to 1.
Okay. 5, Big Daddy Kane.
Oh, we already going to bump heads. Go ahead.
Okay, we're going to bump heads. Number 5. Number 2, number 5. Number 4. Number 4, I would say MC Lyte. MC Lyte was a lyricist.
Okay.
You can't take away from her.
Paper Thin, I ain't mad
Paper
at you.
Thin is no joke. Okay.
You didn't know I knew that. See, I'm listening. I'm
right. Number 3, Drake. I love Drake. Drake is a beast.
Okay.
Number 2, Ye.
Okay. You reeled me back in. I'm with you now.
And number 1, KRS-One. What you know about KRS-One?
I'm not mad, because I am a philosopher. I'm not
mad.
KRS-One.
Okay. Now, I know I skipped Jay. Jay is in there. I know it was wrong, but I don't know how I did that. I may need to take Biggie, Big Daddy Kane out, and I also left my boy Jay out. Jay and everybody else about Tupac. Tupac was okay as a lyricist, right? But Jay-Z, I'm going to tell you who else was dope. LL Cool J was dope. Lyricist now. I'm talking about lyrically, LL Cool J was dope. I'm going to be honest with you. Kumo D was dope. I'm talking about listen to the lyrics of what in telling the story. And, of course, Biggie. I feel like 5 wasn't enough because it's just so many dope lyricists out here. And I didn't even give my girl Nikki. Y'all mad, but Nikki can tell a story, and the way that she can morph her words. And I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna hand it over to you. Y'all may not like this. Wayne is not a lyricist, but Wayne has a way to get you so freaking hot. He's a way to be able to turn a word that don't even exist into a word and a phrase. I'm a hip hop head. So what about you?
Okay, so she gave her top 20.
I know, I couldn't stop.
I'll give my top 5. I like when you said Big Daddy had a nemesis, and that nemesis is in my top 5.
Okay.
And
Who D?
No. His nemesis, Big Daddy's nemesis was Rakim.
Oh, Rakim. Yeah,
and
Rakim,
if you listen to Rakim he's a teacher.
Yeah, you're right.
He's always going to be on my list.
He is dope. He's dope.
Definitely number 5. He used to be like number 3, but he, number 5. I also have to, and I wouldn't say no particular order. It depends on the day of the week and how I'm feeling, because each artist can pull something else out of me. But I would say Rakim. I would say Tupac. I had a chance to meet Tupac.
Tupac was a dope person. But I'm talking about lyricists.
You gonna vet my top 5?
Brenda had a baby. Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna stop before they get me.
Tupac. And here's what's so crazy. If you go out of the U.S. now and ask someone about Biggie or Tupac, they're gonna ask you who's Biggie, and they're gonna say, "Yeah, I know Tupac." Tupac is more worldwide. Than It's Tupac is on a whole nother level, and. If you're truly a hip hop head, which I know you are, you understand the 3 pillars of hip hop, right? So it's not just the lyrics; it's about the art, and it's also about the physical expression of it. So when
Machiavelli and so forth.
When I think of Tupac and how he was thinking, he's definitely there.
And check this out, though. I think that, to your point, Tupac would be someone that they study 100 years from now, right? They have classes on Tupac, right? So okay, you said Tupac. Who else?
So I can't say Tupac without Biggie, because to me, as it relates to wordplay,
storyteller, right?
Nobody's better than
Well, I'm gonna tell you who else was dope as a storyteller. Was it Knock Him Out the Box? No, Slick Rick. Slick Rick. Back in it, he told a story, like you would listen to his song from beginning to the end. Okay, so who else you got?
This is gonna be an hour show. Just get this our top 5, but that's okay. We got time. So Rakim, we've got Tupac, we've got Biggie.
Okay.
I've got 2 more. Then we've got I've got to put Drake in there.
Yes.
And so Drake is kind of like on the corner, because is Drake and Nas to me.
Oh yeah, how did I forget Nas?
So I'm just gonna say number 2 is like Drake and Nas.
Okay.
And
so you cheated too. So go ahead.
Yeah, I have 6 in the 5. You can't really do 5.
Okay.
And number 1, without a doubt, man, stand up Chicago, Kanye West.
All day, number 1. But let me ask you this. I think it qualifies if your people don't have ghostwriters. And I know a couple of people on that list are in question.
Who's in question?
I don't even want to say, because it's going to break my heart.
Who's in question? Go ahead.
But that was where Pusha T came in on Drake.
Okay. Yeah.
And your boy Ye was also, they said, it was a little...
No.
That was the word on the block.
No. Let me clarify that.
Ghostwriters can't come. I'm a real lyricist, though.
Don't do that.
Okay, so what's the deal on that?
Drake is Ye is the king of collab. So what he'll do is he'll write, and then he'll allow people to add on to it. And that's the difference. Like Jay-Z will take his stuff and he'll spit it, and he doesn't allow anybody else to add on to it.
You didn't mention Jay, though.
I didn't. And that
Why?
was because for Jay, I can appreciate Jay, and Jay is almost like a cult movement. But when everything's all said and done, I don't go back and listen to Jay.
Are you what?
I really don't.
I'm questioning your hip hop credentials at this point.
Hear me out. And what I mean by that is, I know Jay's song, but I don't go back and listen and say, "Oh yeah, I get it." I do that. Hold on. I do that with Ye stuff. I'm like, I missed that. Okay, now I see where he was going. I even do that with Drake stuff. But with Jay-Z, I think his stuff is more, he's clever with the time, and he's always on time with his stuff. All of his stuff has good timing. And it's good to listen. I mean, I own night spots, so we play his stuff all the time. But you play Jay, people go off. But when you play something that, like Kanye, people will tear your place up.
You and I are going to disagree on Jay.
We can,
because I'm a Jay.
Jay's in the top 10, but he's not in my top 5.
Let me tell you. But I'm going to ask you this before we close out. One of the biggest verses ever. People was very surprised where I stood. Gucci Mane versus Jeezy. Who you got?
Don't be mad, but Gucci a fool. He the man.
Okay, me and you got a lot in common, D, because everybody was shocked that I was for Gucci. They was like, they judged me, D, because I like Gucci. And I thought that, to me, I can't think of a real hit that Jeezy had that I bopped my head to. I'm being honest with you, that I bopped my head to in the car. But you turn on Lemonade by Gucci, I'm going
But
off.
I will say they're very, very close. And
No.
It depends on they're very, very close. Shout out to Solomon. I know everybody in that camp. But it's very, but I like Gucci better.
I like Gucci. I like Lotto. I like y'all. Okay, I like this Pooh Shiesty dude. My son turned me on to Pooh Shiesty. You know Pooh Shiesty?
I know Pooh Shiesty.
And I hope his time. Whatever happens in that situation. But what's so funny is that Pooh sounds just like Gucci, and I think that's why I like him. I love Gucci. Gucci is my dude.
Yeah,
he's my dude, and I think I'm gonna produce his story.
And I think for me, it's again, you have to be likable, and I like him and his girl and how he operated with his girl. That's
love it.
Pushes him over the top.
And I love the respect. He always puts her on a pedestal. He respects her. Now some of this, but I'm gonna keep that. But I love the way he puts her on a pedestal as his wife. So I think that's
I'm gonna
dope.
give you. Okay, so you got your hip hop card. You got it back because it was.
Oh, it was never questionable. Let him know, Fonz. It was never in question. I'm questioning you when you say Jay now, because that right there makes me look at you.
10. No, I said Jay is in the top 10, but I can't put Jay in my top 5, and there's nothing wrong with it. Jay is he's cool.
You're right.
But if you ask any, and I'm more Nas, when the whole thing went back and forth, I sided with Nas. When Nas came out with Ether. I was like, there's nothing Jay could ever say to me.
He killed it. Only reason why Jay won is because he was able to say, I had your girl. That's it.
Yeah.
That shut it down. Was nothing else you can say behind that. But Ether was amazing.
I still play Ether to this. It's on my workout list. Yeah.
Well, it's just like Remy and Nicki. The truth of the matter is Remy is a harder lyricist, but Nicki came in, and I still listen to No Frauds. No Frauds is a jam to me. So it's sometimes, like you said, it's not just about the lyricist, because Nicki's a much bigger star than Remy has become, and I think that Remy is a dope lyricist. So it's the whole thing. But I enjoyed you being here today.
I enjoyed you, and you know what you're talking about related to hip hop and business. I'm very impressed. So anytime, I'd love to come and just share knowledge, and I love this platform. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you. And thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Pornology. And we have my boy D. Stay tuned, because we're about to do a lot of great things with D moving forward. And we're about to take it out of here, right, Fonz? Let's take it out.
Let's go.
Go.